Welcome to Three Things. Tonight's guest is the editor-in-chief for one of the biggest brands in White Sox Twitter, Sox on 35th. He also shares his infinite resources with the blog Diamond Digest. He's a two-time Sox Math finalist, as well as a 108 tourney baseball regional finalist, losing to Matt Lazowski. One of the brightest young minds writing about the White Sox in the blog space. And he graduated from Notre Dame last year, which we promised not to hold against him. I'd like to welcome to the stage Jordan Lazowski. Jordan, welcome to Three Things.
Jordan, what's up, man?
Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Looking forward to this. This is awesome.
Good stuff.
That's the usual introduction I get, though, with Notre Dame. It's either, hey, you're from Notre Dame, or hey, you're from Notre Dame. So
No, I don't think any of us are really anti-Notre Dame, but it's just fun to make fun of the Notre
Sure.
Dame people.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues at work, she went to Notre Dame. She's actually from the East Coast. She's not a Chicagoan growing up. She's one of my favorite people. And then there's a dude from the neighborhood that Treasy and I grew up with, who's a Notre Dame grad, who's one of the awesomest dudes we know. So most of the people I know that went to Notre Dame are terrific. So I only do that in jest. I'd let you know.
of course.
I've got nothing but love for Notre Dame grads and everything, but there's nothing more fun than being from the south side of Chicago and telling someone that Rudy sucks just to see the look. It's as close to Ken WO as I get in my normal day. So that's kind of just one thing that I like to do.
The new thing you got to do, though, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I'll give you a good one to use.
No one's watching, so just tell us. Yeah.
No, it's Rudy was offsides. That's the other big one you got.
Oh,
I love the Rudy was
That one
offside.
will probably get you a little bit more in back coming at you than Rudy sucks, but because you'll get some people who are like, no man, watch this video, watch whatever, but yeah, that's definitely one you got to go with.
Because the Rudy sucks thing is kind of true because he was a walk-on, so you get that. But he had his big moment, and if you destroy his big moment, that's shit. You want to throw hands is what the shit.
So I wasn't saying like Rudy the player sucked. I was saying the movie.
The movie. You're
Oh,
movie,
okay.
Right?
That's usually what I go with. But I like the Rudy was offsides. I'll use that too. That sounds great.
You didn't hear that one from me, though.
I used to live in Southern California. I don't know if our audience knows that, but the bar I used to hang out at and watch all of the Illini games in 2005, one of the former team managers' mother and father used to come in and watch the Illini games. And the mom worked in PR, and one of her clients was Rudy Rudiger. So she found out through courses of like all these all of us talking like during the games and whatnot, that I was a graphic designer. And she's like, hey, I don't know if you know this guy, but it's Rudy Rudiger, like the Notre Dame story, blah, blah, blah. He's coming out with an energy drink. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. She's like, yeah, we need a logo. And it was called Rudy 45. And so she went through the whole thing with me, and I created all these logos and sent – yeah, I've told you this. I think I've told you guys this before. But I sent all these logo comps to her, right? So – the thing with the 45, I think, was his number, but it was also the amount of vitamins and different things that was in the drink. Well, years later, Rudy goes to jail for embezzling all the money that he got from this energy drink thing that they did not take my designs, but I was always like, that is 100% crazy. Like, they raised all this money for this energy drink, and she sold it really well. She's like, it's going to be real big. People are going to love it and all this. And I'm sitting there going, I'm not going to fucking – no one's going to buy this. I'm not going to buy this. And so, it was nuts. And then he ended up, like, serving time or got in trouble because of that actual thing. And when we said graduate, I thought we meant Jordan just graduated high school last year. So I'm sorry, Jordan. I apologize. And I know I shared beers with you, but like underage drinking in Bridgeport is like a dime a dozen, okay? So it's whatever.
Well, you remember when I met you, right? What you had to say to me, right?
Oh, you guys don't remember. Go ahead.
Oh, this is a good one.
No, I don't.
So it was whenever Joe Binder first it was his first Sox game at the ballpark. We had spent a lot of time in the Guaranteed Rate Club. And we were like, okay, around 7th inning, once they stop serving food and stuff, we'll go down 108, say hi to everybody.
Yeah. Well, 7th inning is not a good time to come down.
Yep. And for some reason, it's like just because I hadn't been around a lot or whatever, I hadn't met you over the course before that. And then I'm walking up, you say hi to Joe, you say hi to B-Son, and then you look right at me and go, "You motherfucker, Lucas Giolito succeeded despite you, not because of you."
I'm surprised my Sox summer was that coherent at the end of the game.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised I said anything that had to do with baseball by the 7th inning.
Because I mean, I was being like, "Hi, I'm Jordan. Nice to meet you." And you just look at me, and I'm like, that was the greatest thing that ever just happened to me right there.
I said it nicely, though, right? I wasn't a big dick about it, was I?
No, not at all.
I bet you were a huge.
I was probably a huge
Like,
dick.
it's
I think so too.
That's what I'm
You-
getting from this.
You deserve the crack after that shit, my Sox summer. It's kind of weird. The Sox on 35th, the OGs of Sox on 35th, which you are one of them, Jordan, and then the 108. We sort of started doing our things at about the same time,
Mhm.
and we're like 20 years older than the Sox on 35th. But our blogs and our brands were like chucking along right next to each other. Kind of, we don't do the exact same thing, but we were kind of like getting some notoriety all at the same time. It's very interesting.
Oh no, it's awesome too. It's awesome to have two different blogs doing two very different things, two very different groups of people doing it. It's really cool. And it speaks to the diversity that Sox Twitter has, the amount of different opinions you can get and stuff like that.
And
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
remember thinking several times there, we would talk about numbers and how many followers everybody had, and I was like, of course they have more followers than us. Like everyone their age is on Twitter. None of our friends are on Twitter. Like I post stuff and people are like, I have a friend and she was like, people don't understand like how famous you are, not famous, but known you are
Yeah.
in this little sect, right? Like, and how big the thing that you actually do is. Cause like, I'll post something every once in a while on Facebook, but like nobody's ever like, oh, you're so-and-so until they come to the section. And then like all these people come down and say hi.
Right.
They're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what are you guys doing? Like when I was at Sox Fest this year, it was a guy I used to work with. We had just started the 108 stuff when I left work, and he was watching people come up, and he's like, dude, what the hell is it? I go, it's big, man. I'm like, we have like 10,000 followers on Twitter. Like people come and say hi. I don't know. It's what it is. So
I mean, that,
fart jokes sell, you know.
but that's the
Saget
coolest
made a
thing though,
living doing
too. Like no matter what you're doing, it's like no matter how many followers you have, just the people who come up to you, it
Yeah.
like in that little way, it like makes you feel more grateful about what you're doing. Makes you feel like, hey, I'm not just putting out stuff for the internet robots to read. Like there are people reading my stuff, and it's
Right.
awesome.
Jordan,
Jordan,
the
I
only
was gonna
time
say,
it's been,
I'm one of the people who reads your stuff. And also another person who I happened to be chatting with, and I already had you on my list of here's the people I want to have on this thing. And another person I was chatting with, NWI Steve, is like, I asked him, who should I get on? 3 things. Who do you think I should get on? And the first name he brought up was yours. He said that kid's smart, and you know he has great thought process. Get him on there and see what that looks like. So you got a very nice encouragement from another guy who writes sort of similar stuff as you.
No, that's awesome. I'll have to buy him a beer next time we're at the ballpark. That's awesome. That's good to know.
there's 7 hot dogs.
Yeah, whatever he might want.
That guy can crush him. That guy can crush some hot. He can crush some beers too, man. That's a,
Yeah, he can.
Well, there's no question about it.
he's
Now,
a
this is
two-sport athlete.
This is 3 things, and that was thing number 1. Thing number 2 is a question that you bring for the entire group to bat around.
For sure. So thought a lot about this one, you know, thinking about Sox Twitter and all the things I've seen going down with you guys. Big thing is, obviously, we kind of talked about it. You're older. It is what it is. And a lot of people either like that and say, hey, these guys got experience, or these guys don't know what they're talking about. It's 2020. These guys are stuck in 1980, whatever you want to say about it.
Yes.
Right.
But, you know, looking at it, I want to take the side of, you know, what have you learned? So if you know, you're obviously very successful. I would look at your lives and say, you know, you're all married, you've got great families, you got a great blog going, like you're successful in what you set out to do. I was wondering, I think it'd be fun to share. Maybe it's man, I got to get my shit together moment, or like a moment at some point in your life where you feel like, hey, things really started to turn around for me right here, or this is what I did, and like this is what made me successful in the life that I had today. So.
Oh,
Man.
that's a really good question.
So it can be a funny one. It could be like, hey, I just did this and
I'll
now
go.
I got to get my shit together. But
I'll
By
go.
Sock Summer.
And this is and it's. I think it's probably one of the easier things for me. Well, yeah. I think. Well, Treasy might have a good one too. But I was out west, and when you hang at sports bars with guys that are like probably 5 to 10 years older with you, you see their lives, and you see guys doing the same thing you're doing, and they're older. I was, after about 7 years, I was like, I need to push forward to the next thing. So the year before I moved back to the Midwest, I dated 2 girls that I never would have dated before, and both went horribly. I was like, okay, I am 100% right on with who I want in my life, and these 2 were not that. And I tried.
Can we just
though.
talk about them for a while?
No, we're not talking about those.
Those gotta be blog posts or
that's 100% behind the
podcasts.
paywall. So that was that. And then a year after, I'm hanging with these guys, and I'm like, I need to do something other than go to a bar on Friday night, drink crazily, Saturday drink, and then Sunday just kind of do recovery. Or football season, take off Saturday night and get fucked up on Sunday, and sometimes drink until Monday morning. And I just, after a certain point, I was like, I just want to be closer to family and be back in the Midwest, because that's where I always wanted to be. And I hadn't found anybody out west, so it was like, there's no reason not to do this. So that made me wake up. And then I came back, and I decided that I need, and Jordan, and I'm being 100% serious, I didn't need to make a shitload of money. I didn't need to achieve all these huge, big things. I needed to be happy. And that's all I was really worried about, because if you're happy where you're at in your life, and what your status is, or like where you're staying and what you're doing, then it doesn't matter if you got $500 or $5,000. Like, it really doesn't. As long as your bills are paid and you're fine, that's the best. And I will be going into this here, I think, in a couple more years, when my youngest is finally going into school and whatnot, going back into the work environment. Like, I'm going to go do something that I want to do, and something that's fun, and not necessarily to make a shitload of money. Just get back into, just go do something, make a couple bucks, and be able to still be around for the kids when they need to be around. So, yeah. That's my thing. I didn't mean to get too deep. I mean,
no,
the 5 milligram microdose is hitting right now. It's getting a little deep, but
I'm very worried about how mine's gonna go, because it's very
sorry.
It's very similar. It's very similar.
Teresa, you want me to go? You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want me to go ahead of you? Okay, so I'm gonna do this 2-pronged. I'm gonna do it life, career, one angle, and then also 108 blog one angle, but they won't take that long. So my first year out of college, I worked for a public accounting firm. I'm an accountant. I still am right now. I'm a controller for a real estate firm now. Way back in the day, I was staff accountant for a mid-sized public accounting firm. They hired 5 of us in the first tax season, and they fired everyone but 2 of us out of the 5, and I was one of the ones who stayed. And I kind of got the warning, we think you have a lot of potential, but you didn't perform for shit this year. You were no good or whatever. And I really took that hard. And I remember my wife pep talking me you're fine. You just need to focus, blah, blah, blah. Just don't go out as much, all this stuff. And really helping me. I was dating my wife at the time. We weren't married yet, but we were going to get married pretty soon. And she really reined me in, yeah, they're right. You do have talent, but where they're wrong is you can kind of get this done. You're going to make this, you're going to be fine. And it was helpful to have my wife settle me and make me realize yeah, you do belong here. And now you fast forward 20 years later, in the firm I work for, the people on the investment side are all Ivy Leaguers, so I'm not an Ivy Leaguer. I went to some bullshit college in the western suburbs, but I get to work with these people on a daily basis. So you realize that all you got to do is just make sure you stay focused, put your head down, work hard, and at that point in my life, I was not ready to do that. And she pushed me into doing it. On the 108 blog side, the second that I knew that we had some shit together, that we were going to be something, is when Josh Nelson tapped us to do a live show with them. And it was before they were Sox Machine. They were still Southside Sox. They were the SB Nation. But when he reached out to us and said, hey, do you want to do like an underground live show? You know, you guys have the Beta Brow thing. You want to do that at Beta Brow, and we'll partner up and do this show. I thought, holy shit, the big fish in the pond really wants us to be involved with them. And so, and then when the show actually filled up with people, and I don't know what we had, maybe 75 to 100 people in that private room at Beta Brow, half of those people had 108 shit on, and we sort of knew like, oh, okay, our people are out there. Like we sort of felt it a little more than we had felt maybe with blog posts or with Twitter or whatever. We like saw the people in place, and so that was the point when, at least for me, when I felt like, oh shit, we got a little something going here, got a little momentum going.
And Nani was on that panel, wasn't he? Or could he not make it to that panel?
No, he was on it. He was
on it, right?
I talked to him for a long time, man. He was there.
Yeah, for me, so yeah, to just give a little background on the story. So, and I don't want to get into the weeds on this one, but like the end of my college years, some just like not good shit happened around my, in my life. And coming out of college, I knew I'd wanted to work in the music industry. And so I just went out and just like threw resumes everywhere and tried to find somewhere to go. And I actually found a great place to work in the music industry at a small record label that was actually in Bridgeport, which was hilarious because it was like an industrial music record label that was in Bridgeport. And so I kind of threw myself completely into that to try and get away from like everything else that was going on in my life, and ended up working road crew, and I was out on the road, and then when I was back, these guys, Beef wouldn't really see me that much. I was working probably easy 100 hours a week, probably making about $400 a week. And like, I just threw myself into that for a while. And then eventually like it kind of grated on me, and I was like, okay, I'm going to quit this job, but I could still work road crew. So I'm going to have that in my back pocket. And I went and took a part-time job, and this was probably 13 or so years ago. And they offered the part-time job that I was at. They were like, hey, we really like you. We think you're a smart guy. We know you want to go do this other stuff, but if we'd like to have you here full time and just, stay with us. And I had a tour lined up to go on. And so I had to really make a decision. And the decision wasn't so much about the job at that point. And it ended up just being like, I didn't want to just kind of run away from everything anymore. And I kind of wanted to hang out with Beef, and I wanted to be around my family, and I wanted to like really kind of try and rein shit in. And so I made that choice to stay and not continue on doing like the road crew work. And it was literally the best decision of my life. And I'm actually still at that job. Like for,
now,
years later.
And I was gonna be like, now you run that company.
Not quite, but yeah, in like it was definitely a choice at that time. Which, if I look back at it now, it's such a fucking easy decision. But at that point, was really just me like not sleeping for days, just kind of like wondering like, what should I be doing? Because like my life's dream was to work in the music industry, and this was not going to be the music industry. This was going to be something else, but it would give me all the other things that I wanted. Right? Yeah. It would be like I'd be home, and I'd be with my friends and family, and really, and all the stuff outside of work was going to be all the things that I ever wanted. And I was like, that's what makes this choice easy. And so I did that, and I fucking never looked back. And I still play in bands, and that's enough for me.
I can still do it, exactly.
Plus, you can still be in that New Order cover band that you are so good at. So it's all good. It doesn't even matter.
There is a New Order cover floating around on the internet that I played on. So I will
really?
find that. Oh. I will find that for you.
I want to see this.
Yeah,
yes.
I will find it for you. I'll send it to you.
100%.
Sounds nuts.
What about you, Jordan?
See, I mean, that's why I asked too, because it's like, I just graduated, and so you take a job because, you want to get something right out of school. And, it's for someone like me who aspires one day to work in baseball in some form, one way or another, whether it's on the baseball ops side or the business ops side, whatever it might be, it's like it's always difficult just being 23 and looking at it and like, can you take that jump? Can you do those things that maybe seem a little risky? I'm very risk averse, which is part of the problem. So it's like listening to those stories. I know it's more of a serious question. I apologize for that.
No,
but at the same
it's good.
time,
But
yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned from you guys who have experienced so many things. And I think that sometimes because of, all the 108ing and it's a lot more about having fun. And a lot of people miss the fact that you guys have so much experience too, and you see it in how people reply to you sometimes. And I think there's a golden opportunity there just for people to learn and understand that these guys are just more than guys who like to drink beer at the ballpark. And I think that that's something a lot of people miss, and that's why, I keep saying, like, thinking back to those Twitter arguments, Beef, I saw you getting in. Like, there's so much more there, and I think people miss that. So that's where I was coming from, both from the personal side as well as, hey, there's more to these guys that I think I'd like to see if I get the chance to talk with them,
Jordan, if I could impart a piece of advice on you for my own personal life, and I think my Sox Summer will totally agree with this, is you're young and you have an idea of what you want to do. Just throw it out there, man. Try it and do what you got to do to try and make that work. And if it doesn't work out, like it sounds like you got an awesome brother and you got a good family that's like behind you in all this, dude, that's all you can ask for. So go try it. Be more successful than I was in it, man. Just fucking make that dream happen. Don't have to make that choice that I had to make. Just look back on it and be like, dude, I'm fucking GM of this team. What the fuck was that guy talking about?
And I think it's different. And it probably wasn't different back then, but there's more, I think, avenues and outlets to kind of do whatever you really want to do now. Sure. You can kind of make a buck. Like I never thought in a million years that I would be buying and reselling stuff from thrift stores and like maybe able to have like a nice second little income, or even, like socks, trinkets and bullshit, whatever. Like these things, like I never thought like, oh, you could have a viable living associated with this. And like, I do, like, and I contribute, I can contribute to the family while staying home and, helping raise the two girls. And it's nuts. Like there's just a lot of different things, but I mean, I feel like everyone says that about the new generation versus the young generation.
Sure.
But I think what that was kind of stuck with me, like, was when I was in college or when we were in high school, like our generations were always like, or the older generation was like, you got to go to college. And now you can go to college, but you can also go to trade school. Like, I feel like if I had been like let known, like, hey, you know what? If you go and like learn how to fix this fucking engine, you can go work for the city. You can get a pension. You can have a retirement. Like you can have all your benefits and all that stuff. And that was never really taught. It was just like, hey, you know what? You go do what you want to do. And that's why I majored in art, and now I make watercolors at my table and send them out for my blog. It's just crazy. But like, go where you like. The best piece of advice I think I got as a kid was like, go where you want to go, live where you want to live, and then just do whatever you have to do to stay there. Because if you're happy in your position and where you're staying, you're going to be mostly happy in life. Like that's the biggest thing, because work's work. Work's gonna suck. Work's gonna be fun. Whatever.
It is. Work's gonna suck. Work don't have to suck.
It doesn't have to, but Jordan, most of the time, it's still a job.
Jordan, with your so if I could opine on your specific skill set, so you're extremely strong. You're extremely strong on the numbers game, and a lot of people are extremely strong on the numbers game. However, where you differentiate yourself are two different things that I noticed from your writing, your tweeting, and just from knowing everything about what you do with the blog. Number one, you're willing to think outside the box, like well outside the box. Most of the people who write about numbers, the framework's built already, and they're regurgitating shit that everyone else is already doing. And that's not how the original Saber came about. The original Saber shit was, oh, I've got an idea. Let's go explore that idea. And you have that, which I think a lot of people, at least in the blog sphere, they're not capable of doing. They're not capable of thinking that next level and sort of saying, well, what if this? And like, to me, that's a key. And number two, you're an excellent communicator and you're willing to see not everyone understands this concept, explain the concept, use an analogy or whatever, but you do a really good job of that. So I think build off of those two real strong parts of your work that other people that I see, and even some real famous people that I see that get a lot of likes and have a lot of Twitter followers don't do well. I would say push in those directions specifically because it's the reason why I read you. Because what I want to see is like you had some trade article last year. Where like, here's the guys the Sox should go after. And I read like 7 different people's trade articles with all the same stupid shit that I had heard a million times. And then I read yours and I'm like, these are guys that could actually acquire. These are guys that no one else is talking about. That's really the place you want to play. You want to play in the spot where your independent thinking can kind of take over, and you could be the one ruling the roost there. So I would encourage you to keep pushing in the directions you're already doing. I think you do a great job.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Coming from you guys, hearing these things, it's super awesome. So I appreciate that a ton.
And Beeflo's the smartest one of the three of us, so his like smartness is
I'm the least smart
even better.
of the three of us.
Bullshit, son of a bitch.
All right, so this is 3 things. That was thing number 2. Thing number 3 is a question from us, and so I wanted to ask a baseball question. We haven't asked one in a long time, I don't think. However, with the MLB considering like a 50-game schedule, which would be wild, I'd like each person here to give a bold White Sox prediction. It could be either about just the team. It could be about a particular player's stat line, anything like that. Just a bold prediction about what the White Sox would do or anyone of the team would do in a 50-game schedule this year.
Oh, God.
I got it. I'll start off. Okay, and I'm gonna take the easiest one, I think, by far. Okay, the Sox will sell out every fucking home game they play if it's a 50-game season. The stadium will be 100% packed. We will be able. We could fucking scalp our tickets for Christ's sake. It will be that easy. There would like the
We're
demand.
not invited.
No fans.
I mean,
No
like,
fans.
are you saying that they're gonna be like
There's
the
gonna be no
KBO
fans.
and they're gonna fill it with dolls?
I thought we were in the fun like trust tree, and that we could go and just fucking go to the goddamn game. I didn't know we had to like subscribe to the bullshit that's going on. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna need a minute then. I'm gonna need 1 minute. You guys go ahead.
Teresa, I didn't know where that was going, but we should have just left it. You should have
No, I thought it was gonna be
like 5 minutes later. We'll be like, I don't think they're gonna allow fans.
I thought we were gonna get. Yeah, I thought we were gonna get in.
I'll start. I'll lead off. So my thought is in a short season like that, you're going to see the game played a little differently because you kind of got to go all out, right? Every single win, like you can't have this Ozzy Sunday lineup and shit like that. You got to play the main guys all the time. And something that I think teams don't do as much because of the costs, let's say, physical costs to the players in a longer season is that they don't run as much. And I think Tim Anderson will lead the majors in stolen bases with 25 steals in 50 games. I think he's going to go all out. I think he's going to take the Jordan model where he gets better at another part of his game each year. Won the batting title last year. I was hoping it was defense this year, but I think it's actually going to be stolen bases. Okay. So I'll go with Timmy winning the stolen base crown.
That's a good one.
The thing that I immediately thought of is coming into this season, like I was kind of like, we're not going to have, like the pitching staff is a little iffy. Some of these guys could be bullpen arms. Some of these guys could be great starters. And I'm going to go, the Sox go 4-man rotation and just load the shit out of that bullpen. And so they have guys like Cease and Lopez in the bullpen going, throw as hard as you fucking can when you get in this game, throwing 99 miles per hour, trying to get guys out towards the end of the game, and then just a 4-man rotation. And now when Rodon comes back, which is a few days from now, I don't know, he's probably healthy. They're going to just be like, dude, throw as many sliders as you want. You've only got to pitch 9 games. throw 100 sliders. I don't care. And
Rodon might be 300 pounds right now. You don't know. You have
oh,
no
I don't
clue.
care.
Have you seen him?
I would love him to come back beefy like Bartolo Colon, just all greasy.
Oh man,
just wiping taco grease off his neck
To get
and
the
throwing,
slider going.
throwing that slider thing right across the. Oh man, I'd love it. I'm in for that. That's 4-man rotation, stacked bullpen, and then just hit as many home runs as you can in the meantime.
All right.
what do you got, Jordan?
So I'm trying to think about it. And mine's kind of similar to what Teresi was just saying.
Do you want me to go next then? Because mine's totally opposite.
Yes, go totally opposite.
So defensively, I understand what you're saying, Teresi. I am going to go to the other side. We're going to load this team with a bunch of bangers, guys that can just smash the shit out of the ball. I don't give a fuck if you can catch a ball, stop a ball, whatever. If you can hit home runs, you're on this fucking team. We're going to pick up Puig because as far as I know, he hasn't been signed. Let's get him on. Let's just mash balls. That's all we're going to do. We're going to mash balls like mashed potatoes. We're going to be done. That's what we're going to do.
So is Yerman the starting catcher then?
Oh, fuck yes. Dude, Yerman could be my fucking starting center fielder. I don't give a fuck. He's gonna clear as many home runs as he gives up. He's gonna clear by the fence. He's fine. Don't worry.
Grandal's playing second base instead of Madrigal. That's the My Sox summer vision.
My Sox summer just going to pick the lineup out of a hat. He doesn't care where you go.
Madrigal's at first. That's the only place he belongs. He's at first base. His height is perfect. He's got a good reach. All right, Jordan, let's get serious.
All right, I'll go twofold here. One I would like to see. You know, when you think about a 50-game season and the Sox, this would be bold for the Sox. And then one, me being very on brand with the second one. So we'll start with the first one.
Okay.
You know, when it's similar to Treasy in that it requires a stacked bullpen. But with only 50 games, since every one is so crucial, every game is just direly important at the end of the day, I'd like to see the Sox embrace at least once or twice out of the rotation that kind of opener strategy. And it kind of goes along with what Treasy was saying. You find someone out of the bullpen or one of your best guys. Maybe it's Aaron Bummer starts a game for like 3 innings.
Yep.
And then you have your starter come in. And I think with that sort of strategy, I think in many ways a 50-game season, I'm someone who wants to see as much of that different strategy as possible. Like anything goes, you got to figure out what's going to work for you in these 50 games. You got to do whatever it's going to take. Doing what normally works will not win you a division title in 50 games.
Right.
And I think something like that I've talked about before, I think everyone's kind of talked about it. You've seen the Rays actually do it. I think I'd like the Sox to try and embrace that. And going along with that, in a similar vein, this is getting a little bit of draft talk here. There's one young lefty, Garrett Crochet, who's very much like, now I'm nerding out, but Garrett Crochet, he's someone who could be in a bullpen tomorrow with how good his stuff is, but people aren't sure if he's going to be a starter. I'd love to, if you want to talk real bold, plug him as someone who becomes an opener. Maybe not just this year, but moving forward and stuff like that sort of outside the box strategy thing, and like do something different as a ball club.
So you draft him next week, and then he's on the opening day roster when you open July 4th.
And by the end of it, I'd love to see him opening games and do something crazy.
Damn,
I love it. I
love this. I like this is
100% chaos.
Perfect. That's the
love
perfect
it.
answer. Like
Love it.
I really love that.
But inside that idea is the more concrete, probably less bold idea. But hey, choose your drafty, have him starting this year, and let's see what happens. But
nice.
On a different vein, and again, this is me staying on brand here. You know, again, 50 games, the leash is shorter. First time Alex Colomé blows a save. Bring in Carson Fulmer as your next closer. Carson Fulmer leads the White Sox in 2020 in saves.
I like it, though. I like it.
You just broke my Sox summer's heart.
I like it because it could totally happen.
It could totally happen.
Short schedule, and if he gets hot for 2 months, that's it. He'll have 11 saves or 12 saves, and he'll lead the league.
I can't wait to roll this back and watch My Sox Summer like Ralph Wiggum, just like, it's hard.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
My Sox Summer, will you enjoy
fucking
it?
A, what the fuck?
Let's say this starts happening and Carson Fulmer piles up like 18 saves in a 50-game season. Are you like totally loving it, or are you hating it because you've said so much shit over time against Carson Fulmer?
Well, I mean, okay, I'm loving it. Because above all else, I want the team to succeed, right? So that, and I want him to succeed too. I just, you know how I feel, and I think everyone knows how I feel. Like, he's been giving a hell of a lot of opportunity to show that he can do this, and he hasn't done it. So, like, he's like, oh, he's going to be a starter. So we throw him on as starters. Oh, well, he never started before, so we're going to make him a reliever. And then they're like, you know what? We're going to make him a closer because that's probably what he's good at, So, like, who knows? Like, this guy, he's a good guy. I love the guy. He's a very great person.
One thing for sure is that My Sox Summer will start smoking again if this happens, because he will not go on Facebook. He will just.
I don't want to go on Facebook.
Avoid Facebook like the plague. He would rather smoke.
Yeah.
We're going to get the Chinese government to block U.S. Facebook from your internet at your house, okay? We cannot allow this, My Sox Summer. It's not going to happen for you, buddy.
Yeah. The Hall of Famer Carson Fulmer group has come up with some interesting things in more recent times too. So he's moved past just the Carson Fulmer can be a Hall of Fame closer. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yes, I probably should still start smoking if that's going to happen. Fuck.
Jordan, thanks so much for joining us. This was fucking great. Excellent question. I love your outside the box thoughts on a 50-game season. I actually am going to later this week start putting my stuff down on paper, like what weird shit I think could happen in a 50-game season. I kind of am rooting for it now, even though I wanted the longer trek. Now I'm rooting for chaos in the shorter version of it.
Absolutely.
Just because it could be so weird, and the Orioles can make the playoffs or something fucked up could happen.
Pineda's suspended for most of the 50-game season. Just remember that.
It hurts the Twins the most, so that's what we're rooting for.
Exactly.
Anyway, take care, brother. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Jordan.
Dude, thank you so much for jumping on.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.